Okay, so hi again, everyone. Very wonderful to have Zone 34 here in terms of our Rotaract leadership and other types of leadership within Rotary. Today's call is very special to us because we get to chat with our Rotarians who pay a very special attention to our Rotaract clubs, our sponsor, Rotary Club presidents. And of course, we kick things off as we usually do, trying to break the ice a bit. So I hand you over to Rolando, who is going to walk us through hopefully a very quick and easy icebreaker.
I will try. Well, hi everyone. Pick up your phone because this is a DRC call. And I would like you guys to go into your browser as we're used to. And here you will see the info to get into Mentimeter. You just type in your browser or on your phone, menti.com. And there you see the code, which is 5332-2690. And that's how you come into the area where we'll be doing this small little assessment. All right, so just go to menti.com, and when you're in, put in the code, and just please leave me a heart on the screen so I know you're in. I see 2 people, so yeah, 6. Yeah, that's great. Keep them coming, keep them coming, keep them coming. I will also put it in the chat because this slide will be gone in a few minutes.
The QR code does not work?
Yes, it does.
It does. Huh.
It should.
Are we supposed to enter the code somewhere? There's no place to enter a code.
There's no place to enter it here either.
First, you go to menti.com.
Menti.com work.
Yeah, menti.com. And that's where you'll find the option to put in a code.
Good.
I also put it in the chat.
If you did the QR code, if you just scan the QR code, you didn't need to put in anything.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you just see the page that says instructions.
Exactly.
Well,
yes.
I did scan the QR code and it went to menti.com instructions, but it didn't give me an ability to get out of it that I could find.
Yeah, I can't get out of it either.
Yeah.
You just need to press the heart at that point.
Yeah.
Just press the
give
heart.
them hearts.
You are on the right page. You are on the right page.
The heart? All right, we'll do it again.
Right, I pressed the heart and I sent it to someone, but
We'll see where it ends up.
because you haven't
should now
gone on
see-
to the next step.
No. And you should now see this on your screen.
All right, I'm there. I got a thumbs up. Okay.
Okay, awesome. Well,
This is like way high tech. I don't know.
Oh
I
yeah.
know it is high tech, and I feel like I'm all thumbs on my phone. It's okay.
Yeah, Heather, you got a couple of decades on me, so don't complain, okay?
I'll ease you guys into it. Don't worry, I'll ease you guys into it. Okay,
All
we'll do a quick trip down memory lane with our previous call. This is our 3rd call, and the first one we got a presentation very thoroughly from Alicia where we navigated through the My Rotary website. And the 2nd call, we talked a little bit more about the university-based club. We had a chat with Christina and other Rotaractor. And now, today, at this session, we will talk about relationships with your sponsor club. Alaya, 2 in love, so please hold down your horses. Let's talk about some relationship. And let's do a quick assessment on the relationship between you, the Rotaract clubs, and the Rotary club, or vice versa. So if you're in the Mentimeter, I would like for you guys to quickly answer these questions. Just rate your relationship with your Rotary or Rotary club. Is it just the status, you're about to the first, or it's going well?
Well, what do you do? What do you do if you have clubs that died?
Well, then it's not happily ever after. Just put in what you like. I'll be in the corner with Mike sipping on this good little tea. Okay, just
wondering. I sent a thing up to Rotary.org or data at Rotary.org saying I've got 4 if not 5 clubs that are just gone.
they're
The
gone.
rest of them are A, so I'll give it an A. Okay.
Okay, cool. Here is it's going well. All right, that's the relationship status. Thank you. But now let's put a label on it. All right. You just rated your relationship status. Now let's put a label on it. Your relationship with your sponsor club, is it steady? Could be better, non-existence. You don't have the slightest idea of what a sponsor club is. Just let us know. Put a label on it. Could be better. I see we love improvement. Let's take it on the positive side. We love improvement. Let's take this as there's room for improvement. Okay, I see some steady clubs over here, steady relationships.
Yeah.
I'm also glad to see that none have pointed out that the relationship is non-existent, and we all know what the Rotary Sponsor Club is. All right, we're on the right track. But also let's share some best practices with each other. Or some things that you would love to do with your Rotary Sponsor Club. So if there's anything that you would like to do, just put it in here. Don't worry, it's a safe space. If you want to go to the ball, to a prom, you just want to have more dinners together, I don't know, put anything that you would like to do with your sponsor club. And then we have that data here also, some things that we could take into consideration on our next calls. So anything that you would like to do with just a Rotary Sponsor Club, just list it in here. Let's see what's coming in. Joint project planning. A mentor. Keep them coming, keep them coming. I like this.
I like mentor. I like that. Mentor's good.
More socials. All right. I think we'll ease up on the technology stuff, but more socials, that could work. Mentorship, social opportunities, network opportunities, service project, nice. All just great ideas, great activities, great things that we could do, that you could do with your sponsor club. So just put it in here. We will share this at the end with you guys at Pfizer. I see joint project planning, more activities together. Yes, this is it. So this is what you guys want to do, right? You just put it in there. And now with this information, you gave your relationship a status, you gave it a label. Go and save your relationship with the Rotary, okay? Go and do it and have fun while doing it. I'm signing out. This was a small icebreaker, handing it back over to you, Giselle.
That was wonderful, Lorenzo.
That was
I think many of us have to go and save our marriage, our relationships. I really enjoyed that. Thanks so much for that, Lorenzo. You really broke the ice with us.
Yeah, it did. It did.
Absolutely. So at this point, we always like to share some information, okay, in terms of statistics about our Zone 34. Just a reminder for anyone who may not be sure about what Zone 34 is, we comprise several districts, but the main geographical locations, of course, would be the full Caribbean, right? We'd have Puerto Rico, and then we'd have Georgia and Florida making up our Zone 34, right? So we expand, we have a good reach, right? So I'm just going to share with you two very simple slides. And let me just make sure the right slide is up. There we go. So what we would have been doing over the last few meetings, as Lorenzo said, this is our third call, just kind of showing you our progress. Our mission right now as the Zone 34 Rotaract Committee really is to see how best we could support our Rotaract clubs, whether it be direct support to the Rotaractors, support through the Rotaract sponsor clubs, the Rotary clubs, or anyone who is willing to assist. Because what we really need is our Rotaractors to have accurate data because of the soon to be here invoice that is coming on January 1st, okay? And actually correspondence was sent out both by RI and then resent by our Rotary coordinator, Mike, to advise that a draft invoice is actually coming out at the end of this month. So that to me is going to be a very real thing when we see what that invoice looks like. And what's on the screen right now really is just a snapshot as to how many clubs within your district, Rotaract clubs within your district, have at least started the reporting process, right? So this is something we've shared before directly with you. where you could actually see the names of the Rotaract clubs as well. But for now, this is just an overview as at October 2022 of your district, the number of Rotaract clubs, and thankfully for most districts, the increase in clubs which have reported their Rotaract officers in my Rotary. Okay, another very important slide we wanted to share was something that our RC Mike shared, and it's giving the snapshot of the number of Rotaractors that we have per district. So his list that he would have emailed, and I would have sent this again, I believe last week, actually gave it by club. Okay, so you would have seen Rotaract Club of Fresh and the number of clubs within that, number of Rotaractors, sorry, within that club. What we've done here is rolled it up and given the number of Rotaractors per district. So if you're like me, I'm sitting down and looking at the numbers and wondering, you know, is that correct? Right? So all these are little triggers, in some cases, red flags for us to realize that the data is not right. Okay, so we've been talking a lot about how we can get that data right. So another conversation, which we're going to have today very shortly, will be how can our sponsor Rotary clubs, how can you help? How can you give assistance to our Rotaractors in terms of getting this done? Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing, and just a reminder, as I said, that information was shared previously. However, if anyone would like to get that, you also, I could reshare it to you, or there's also ways we can show you how you can access it via my Rotary. Okay, so at this point, it really is our main discussion. Oh, I'm seeing Mike waving me. Mike, would you like to share something with us?
No, I just wanted to ask you, could you put back up the first slide you had? And I want to ask you a question about it.
Absolutely. And I can. Let me just go back.
Sorry.
Not this one you want, this one, right?
Yeah. So am I correct? I'm just going to say names. 6890 has 7 Rotaract clubs at Rotary.org. We have
we see.
One that has officers identified.
Yeah.
In other words, the other 6 have people on the roster. They're going to get a bill, and they have no one who can correct the roster unless somebody on their district gets an officer of Rotaract up there, or if someone like the district Rotaract chair has to send a manual list up there to Rotary.org.
Yes, so as of now, those other 6 clubs have no officers reported. So you're quite right. If RI would like to send information to someone in the club, or also those are the persons who would actually have the ability to update the rest of the information, right, that we're seeing on the next slide in terms of the numbers of Rotaractors that are there. Daniel, I saw that you had your hand up. You wanted to ask something.
I was just gonna say, I'm DRR for 6890, and hopefully that's gone down now to only 1 or 2 are left. Hopefully, I think
we are here for it, Daniel. Yes, we are here for it. So
Daniel, you are awesome.
Yes.
Giselle, I don't know how to hit the raise my hand.
No problem, Mike. Yeah, you go ahead, Mike.
I got a question. I'm glad Daniel's on here, because where is 6890?
It's around the Tampa Bay area.
Got it. So I got my question. My question is that how were you able to get the names in? Because I am trying my doggonest to get these clubs to update, and either nobody knows how to do it, nobody doesn't want to know how to do it, nobody's going to do it. So what I've done is I sent a list up to data@rotary.org. And I did that over the weekend, and I'm starting to finally get some stuff filtering down. And I just sort of like gave up. I mean, it's just like, you know, talking to some of these advisors. I was dealing with one club, and I was sending notes to the advisor. I got no response. I finally sent a text to the president, and I got no response. I sent her another message 2 days ago, and I said, "Hey, look, do you want me to zero out all these members that you have? I can drop it to 0. Do you want me to just have fictitious data up there, which you're going to get a bill for about $140 for people that don't exist? Or do you want to send me a correct roster?" Well, I finally got a reply. They're gonna have a board meeting tomorrow night, and in there, they're gonna figure out how to send us a correct roster. But I've sort of learned this is that I'm now dealing with the data at Rotary.org. Thanks to Audley, he was tremendously helpful in telling me how to do some of that. And I've just given up on these clubs setting the stuff up. The COVID took such a disaster on these college clubs. There's nobody there, and if you don't have a president or treasurer or secretary that's carried over from a previous administration, nobody can enter data.
Yeah, Mike, I've got a concern also in that if you all DRCs and DRRs are filling the gap because there are no officers identified, when it's time for Rotary to send the bill, there is nowhere to send the bill. That is not a good place to be. So
No, it's not.
anyway,
Mike, what I'm doing is the best I could figure, I don't know of another way, is to put on the Excel file that I sent up, because I got one the other day that had current officers. And I put in there the current president's secretary and treasurer and advisor if I knew who it was. And that's the best I could do.
okay, so Giselle, I didn't want to hijack your meeting here, but what I'm seeing on the sheet, and Daniel, thank you for
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate that.
doing what you've done. That's what we've hoped would happen. So that's great. We will get you, while I'm sitting here, I'm going to run a new list so we can get an updated list of folks. Is that okay, Giselle?
Most definitely. And I think the point of these calls actually is exactly what we're doing in terms of the conversation, because I think we all have different ways of tackling, this huge task that's in front of us. So I think it's very important that we share those stories, right? I saw two questions now. So I saw Justin, DRR Justin, and then I'm seeing District Trainer Randy. So DRR Justin, you wanted to go ahead with your question?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I was just curious because I heard Mike say something just now that you can just send the names with the DRC or something like that. Because we have, you only seen 32 clubs reported it. A lot of clubs are getting issues with getting onto my Rotary. You're hearing me, right?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, and they're having some issues with getting onto my Rotary because the previous boards did not update and these kind of things, and we have emailed our support rep, which is supposed to be Alicia Pijal Avila for 7030, right? I got that information and she does not respond. One or two clubs emailed and the issue was fixed, but there was no correspondence. They just had to go back up and realized, hey, the issue is fixed. But a lot of yeah, they were given access, but there's no correspondence to say, hey, we're working on it, or, we got through. So they got access, but a lot of clubs are not, they don't have access and they email this Alicia person and not getting a response. So is it that we can just send the information with the DRC and or we email this data at my Rotary or whatever?
So because Rotaractors right now are really solely the ones who could update their own data, right? It's part of the elevation process that now your Rotary president can't do it, but we used to be able to do it, right? Because of that, there's a manual assistance that can happen. So that manual assistance is if you're DRC or you have a Rotary president who's very, very close to the club and he knows that, hey, I know Justin is the president, right? But Justin's not reported. They have the permission to share, of course, with our DRCs, the DGs as well, and they can offset it and send straight to data@rotary.org. I think the reason those positions were identified is that you want to ensure the information is accurate. It's not just random information being shared. So that becomes a manual list now that can be shared to the data@rotary.org that updates your listing. And so now we create direct contact for that Rotaract club. So that president, that one of those officers can now go on and update the information for that club. So that's the way in which we see the assistance from Rotary now, the Rotary support group, being able to help the Rotaractors update their information.
So you said Rotary, but then will they make the president of the Rotaract Club, would they give them access to
Yes, that will be
MyRotary?
part. Once they see president, I believe it's president, secretary, and another role will have access to be able to edit other information. So they can now come in and put in everybody else if they, once they have that information, or if it's just them, well, that would be the information they will put in. But the point is they will now have access to be able to edit.
So stop sending emails to this Alicia person.
I didn't say that. That could be clarification, but this was the method that was shared via the latest correspondence from RI. Right, that would have been shared to the DRRs, DRCs, and of course, copy the DGs, and I believe Rotary coordinators may have been copied in that as well. Okay.
Okay, great. I saw already put the emails there as
yes,
well.
yes.
Yeah.
So he's definitely just, yes, exactly. Of course, and we have Audley, right? Find yourself on Audley, and all will be well. Yes,
Thanks.
Randy, sorry about that. Over to you.
Okay. Yes. Well, first of all, can you go to the other slide? I want to see how many members in 6990. 37 members there reported.
Yeah, so this is what is reported right now, and the emails that Mike sent and I resent actually breaks it down by club for you. So you could see it's 5 in this club, 10 in another. You could see it.
That's what I thought. Okay, yes, because I like to get a breakdown. But let me just a couple things. First of all, as district trainer, I've been involved with pets this year. We just did our pets 1 in Dade Broward, and we're going to be doing Monroe County next. Anyway, one of the forms that I am asking all the clubs, incoming club presidents to fill out, and they did this last year, are all the Rotaract clubs and all the Interact clubs, which they sponsor, and who to connect with. Now, I think that's part 1, because we believe that there's probably more Rotaract clubs out there than have been reported even.
Right.
That's part 1. Part 2 is the number of Rotaractors is probably underreported. I know for a fact that one of the Rotaract clubs only probably has a few people reported because well, I'll tell you why. Miami-Dade College, which is where I'm the advisor at that college. It's a 2-year. So what happens is people graduate every 2 years, right? So we have constant movement. So right now, if you would ask us how many members we have no dues paying, but by the end of this month, we probably have about 40. And those will be reported to Rotary International. So you do, especially with the college and university clubs, you do have that issue of right now that I'm sure that number is incorrect. And you probably won't know until in early November how many Rotaractors are actually there. Well, I mean, I'm just mentioning that because I know that it's going to be well, it'll be an issue which we'll know by January how many people we actually have.
Absolutely. And Randy, I'm so sorry you missed our previous call last month, where actually we recognize, just like you have, that the university-based Rotaract clubs are basically ones that require a different push, a different focus in terms of this My Rotary updating, simply because as you have identified, one of the root causes, which is the high turnover of membership. And then secondly, also when they start, in terms of when they get together, which is much later within the Rotary year than the average community-based club. So in that call, we touched on a lot of key things in terms of what can we do as support for these clubs in terms of getting them engaged and of course being able to communicate to them. And one very simple thing out of everything that was shared was them simply using a personal email address as opposed to a university-based email address. So that way we can keep in touch, right? Regardless of where they go or what they do, because many of them, when they're graduating, are still within the Rotaract age, right? So there are opportunities to filter them. If they go to another state, another city, they can go into a community Rotaract club, but we lose contact with them. And so you have this mass exodus. So what we'll do there, we can definitely share the link for that meeting, because a lot of really good stuff. We actually heard from 2 Rotaractors from university-based clubs who have all their information updated on My Rotary and had it like at the beginning of this year. And it's obvious they were doing something different, right? One was based in zone, in district 7700, I believe it is. And then the other one was from 7030. So it's really good to hear the different techniques that they have. So we'll definitely reshare that link with you. So you can maybe hear that, and then whatever other questions we can certainly chat about. But you raise an excellent point.
Yeah, please do, because now Rotary Club of Miami, for example, sponsors 3 out of those 5, if all we have are 5. And so I one thing which I will pass back to those Rotaract clubs is that they should, when they register, that they should use their personal emails. Agreed.
Absolutely.
Because you're right, they get lost.
Yeah, we just lose them. We just lose them after that, you know, and that's quality persons. So guys, at this time we are 30 minutes into our call, and we do have 2 very lovely guest speakers here with us who are going to share, of course, on the role, so to speak, of the sponsor Rotary Club in terms of this whole everything we've been talking about, that extra push, you know, that much needed resource in terms of getting our Rotaractor information updated, sorry, on My Rotary. And I was reading and talking at the same time. Alicia has just put in the chat the link. So Randy and anyone else who would like access to that recording, it's in the chat, right? That would have been the university-based club. So at this point, I do invite our 2 guest speakers, one of them being Karsten, President Karsten of the Rotary Club of Kingston, all the way in Jamaica. And then we also have our very own Alicia DRC. Alicia, are you DRC? I keep calling you DRC, but I think you are. DRC Alicia from the Rotary Club of Atlanta Metro, right? So Alicia is in, as you see there, District 6900, based in Atlanta, and Karsten is in District 7020, the other half of the Caribbean, northern from me, and of course, as I said, in Jamaica. So guys, thank you so much for being here with us. Very great to have you. Wonderful. So as we said, you know, it's really interesting for us to just know about the role of the sponsor Rotary Club and sort of what has worked, what doesn't work. But it's really impressive because for 2 of you, especially, you have Rotaract clubs who certainly are doing very well and who, more importantly for this conversation, have their data updated on My Rotary. So we're just going to jump into a few questions, and as you can see, our audience is very switched on, so we do expect to get some questions from them. So this will be for President Karsten. Can you briefly describe your relationship with your Rotaract club and what that looks like? And when I say your, of course, I mean your Rotary club with your Rotaract club.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thanks for inviting me, ARC Giselle. All right, so for my club, I'll just give a brief background. So I believe we're the 3rd chartered club in the district of 7020. And we're the 1st and the oldest club in Jamaica. So I say that on the background to give a visual of what our membership might be like, being so old. So we have about 69 members, and about a 1/3 of active members are over the age of 55. So there was a deliberate action, and I entered the club about 6 years ago, right? And there was a deliberate action, I would say 8 years ago, to obviously try and expand our membership and have a more youthful cohort within the club. And that deliberate action was to basically reach out to our Rotaract club, which was sponsored by us 10 years after 1959. That has borne fruit, and we have I would say, an organic, healthy relationship with our Rotaractors. We join together on projects, not necessarily because we beg them to come, but it's like a no-brainer that they will be a part of our events. They are part of our fellowship events, and it's something that it's quite seamless in terms of how we operate. Don't know if you want me to go in more details other than that in terms of how organic or how seamless we operate, but we partner on projects, we partner on fellowship activities. They try to partner on even major projects, and they come to our meetings, we go to their meetings. And that is the nature of our relationship between the both organizations.
Yes, thanks so much for that. And how cool, right? You're like the first Rotary Club in Jamaica. That's very cool. Yeah, so same question over to you, Alicia, in terms of how would you describe your Rotary Club's relationship with your Rotaract Club?
Yeah, so our Rotary Club is a little bit unique in the sense that
Alicia, we hearing you very, very low.
Okay.
Sorry, that would help if I had my little mic on my around my mouth. But can you hear me now?
Very clearly.
Okay, perfect. So our Rotary Club is a little bit unique in how we were started. We were a bunch of members who were part of the Rotaract Club of Atlanta that didn't necessarily have a place to go when, you know, we sort of aged out. A lot of the Rotary clubs here in the Atlanta area meet during lunch or in the morning, which is still not conducive for some of our younger professionals to be able to kind of get away and be active in the Rotary community. So our club was started by a bunch of Rotaractors from the Rotaract Club of Atlanta who wanted a place to go. So we have a very cohesive relationship with the Rotaract Club. We actually co-sponsor with the Rotary Club of Dunwoody, which is who's been the sponsor this whole time, and they were very supportive of us starting our Rotaract Club. And we, as a result, have a lot of members that are dual members, where they're a member of our Rotary Club as well as the Rotaract Club. And we kind of work out a deal financially, so that way it makes sense for people to be a part of both. So that way it's a seamless kind of transition as, you know, members are ready to join the like a Rotary Club. We work very cohesively together, including having one meeting a month jointly where we come. The Rotaract meeting, our meeting is all planned together, and we all come together on a monthly basis to kind of build that bond between both clubs.
What I think is very interesting is that both of you actually mentioned the things that were suggested in the Mentimeter as to how you could improve your relationship with your Rotaract Club, the joint, you know, being able to plan, you know, being part of the meetings and stuff. So it's really good to see it alive and well and actually happening. Alicia, this question is for you. In terms of the whole Elevate Rotaract, right? You know, it's just interesting to know that as part of a sponsor club, you know, possibly a sponsor president at that point in time, how did you deal with what was happening in the world of Rotaract, right? In terms of, did you understand what your role as a Rotary sponsor club was, how it had changed? It's very interesting for us to just know, you know, how did you react to that?
Yeah, for me, because I come from the Rotaract background, I already felt that Rotaract was already elevated, but just kind of communicating that to our club members, making sure that everybody felt that Rotaract was essentially our equal. They were no longer a program of Rotary. And there is a lot of education more so towards our co-sponsor club, the Rotary Club of Dunwoody, because a lot of the times they would think of, oh yeah, it's just the Rotaractors, they're, you know, from college, and it's kind of that re-education of, you know, it's not like that anymore. They're essentially, everybody's essentially Rotarians, and, you know, how can we have that conversation back and forth to make sure that Rotaract was seen as the same level as Rotary.
Fantastic. And Carson, same question to you, just in terms of how did your club deal with all that came out of Elevate Rotaract?
Okay, so to be very honest and to be frank, I don't believe many members were well, not prepared, that's not the right word, but they didn't really understand what it meant in a fulsome way. For me, I have been a representative for the Rotary Club too, my Rotaract Club. I've been director of projects and the director of youth service. So I've been acquainted with the Rotaractors for quite a bit. And from where I sit, maybe because I'm closer in age to them, I never thought of it as an elevation per se. Unfortunately, for the Rotaract Club of Kingston, I can, within the last 8 years, I can point out at least 6 persons who would have served at the district level, at the Rotaract district level. And I think that has made a big difference. So their standards were high from inception, from before even my presidency. And you can see the pattern and the expectation and the standards that they do year to year within the last 8 to 10 years. So I don't think there was, we didn't understand it, but they did. I think we understood from them more what is expected of them for the quote unquote elevation.
I like that because it shows it's something that I'm very passionate about, which is co-mentoring, right? The opportunity for younger persons to actually mentor older ones,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
So that's really cool, very, very cool. And Alicia, also for us to see that, you know, because you guys already got it, right? You all came from Rotaract, you know, it was that opportunity also to share with your co-sponsor club, you know, what it meant, you know, in terms of your role. So just as a simple segue, because as I said, we're talking so much about my Rotary, and it's something I tell Mike and we joke about in that this is our one focus for the remainder of the year. You know, we're not deviating because it's just a big push, you know, and we really need to stay on this course so that our Rotaract clubs really get that updated and accurate information on my Rotary. So how were you able, and this will be for Kirsten, how were you able to help your Rotaractors? If you did at all, were you able to help your Rotaractors actually update their information on my Rotary? Were there any challenges that you guys may have encountered? And if so, then how did you guys actually overcome this?
Okay, so as mentioned earlier, I have a good relationship with the current president, and that would be President Tony Moy Stewart, Rotaract Club of Kingston, of course. And she would have asked probably, I think, 2 questions of me, I think early in the year. Who is the representative from the Rotary Club, our parent club? And that would be assigned by me for the Rotaract Club. Other than that, I think she pretty much had it covered. I mean, I think she shared it with all her members. As far as I'm concerned, all her members have a My Rotary account. And that's based on my last conversation with her on the matter. And as I said, maybe I wouldn't have learned a lot from them because they did not have a lot of issues because of the strong leadership that they have. So because of her, I guess, acquaintance with what's expected of her from a district point of view, past presidents were on the district, they did not have much issues with joining on my Rotary. And as I said, their history of standards would have made it the transition easy, but they expect to be at a high level from inception. That is my experience.
Very interesting. A lot to learn from your club. And I had a great opportunity actually of meeting Alicia's one of the Rotaract clubs in Atlanta. Okay. And I would just love to hear, Alicia, from you, same question, you know, were there any challenges, any things that you had to help specifically from a Rotary club perspective in supporting your Rotaract club with their updating of my Rotary?
I think the only support that I really had to provide was more so when the changeover happened with the new look and feel of the My Rotary website. You know, luckily we were very fortunate to have a very stable, consistent year-over-year transition of leadership, making sure that whoever was coming in next in line knew that updating My Rotary was important. And that was always the case when our club was first became a club. So it was consistently passed on from year over year. This year it was a little bit of a struggle just because things looked different. But you know, myself being a part of this wonderful group of committee, Zone for 34, I was able to kind of provide that guidance to Alex, our current president of the Rotaract Club of Atlanta, in order to make sure that he was consistent in getting that updated, and hopefully we can continue for that moving forward. But I think, you know, me as a DRC, I have a new kind of perspective. dealing with making sure that all of the other clubs in the district kind of also reach that elevation and making sure that they're updating. And it is quite difficult, especially like Mike had mentioned, getting all the college clubs up to date because they don't necessarily have the same foundation as a Rotaract community-based club. So I can kind of see both sides of the coin. Ideally, we'd love to get everybody up to the same level as the Rotaract Club and our other Rotaract Club of Atlanta and the other community-based clubs, but that's certainly a challenge with the college-based clubs.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think, you know, as you both said, there's a level, and Alicia, you said it specifically, the consistency. And I think that's what is needed. So even coming out of this year, where many Rotaract clubs may for the first time be exploring My Rotary or be on My Rotary or even have a My Rotary account, the idea is that this should not be the last time, right? That it's meant to be something that they use. It was part of the elevation of Rotaract, sorry. It was intentional that they actually use My Rotary as a tool, right? So you spoke about the updates, Alicia, and those updates were done with the intention of Rotaractors actually being able to do much more on this platform. So I think, you know, that's definitely something we may have to ask you to come and repeat. Alicia did our first meeting, for anybody who wants that recording, that goes very detailed in terms of the how to actually do it on My Rotary. So that's and with the new updates, which is Rotaract only, right? So just in closing, guys, just to hear from you, I think, and we've kind of heard it, but I guess just to summarize, what are some of the other ways you see the Rotaract presidents, the Rotary sponsor presidents really supporting or assisting their Rotaract clubs? And certainly if you have any examples that you'd like to share with us, we'd love to hear them. So Carsten, over to you, and then we'll go to Alicia to close.
All right, thank you again, Giselle. So I believe, one, you have to be deliberate about it. And that is especially if you have an aging membership cohort as a Rotary club. Fortunately for my club, you had persons, you have 8 persons actually of the 69 below 40, 8. I am one of those persons, and the previous president was also below 40 when he was serving. And I think that has helped. It started before, as I said, 6 to 8 years ago. We have had we deliberately chose to increase or improve that relationship with the Rotaract Club. And instead of seeing them as children, which is what I came and saw, I think mentally a lot of older members, especially in the Rotary Club, still see the Rotaractors as children. And I mean, it sounds simple, but that in itself is a block, a mental block. I see them as grown adults, professionals who obviously can achieve high levels and maintain high standards. I went to a district conference, which was put on by a Rotaractor, a previous Rotaractor, DRC, Alicia, and everybody enjoyed themselves from the oldest member to the youngest. So you have to be deliberate about it. You have to involve them. We have committees where in the planning stage, we have Rotaractors in and Rotarians involved from the planning stage, as opposed to have a project and call them the night before, which used to happen. And those are things that we sought to change. Have them involved in the planning of projects as best as possible so that they feel a part of it. We get ideas from them. You have to be open to accept some ideas that they will provide, accept ideas of how to do things differently, and you have to be open to integrate them properly. And it's to our benefit. That's how the Rotary clubs will grow. When I hear elevate Rotaract, part of what I think they would like to be aware of is the financial responsibility. That's part of the elevation as well. And that's, to me, the biggest change. Fortunately for me, was able to induct a previous Rotaractor before I became president. And part of what I would have said to him in, just the talks before induction while he wanted to join was literally what it is your obligation, your financial obligations will change. You guys already have the service bit, but you may have to elevate what is expected of you financially. And I know when the first invoice hits, so I think one of your speakers mentioned earlier that you need to have a point person to receive that invoice. I received the invoice from my 69 members. I know what that looks like. And you have to prepare them mentally, psychologically for that. That even if you have some members struggling and you have to sort that out in terms of membership dues within the clubs, RI and district expect it at a certain time. And you don't want to be that club or that president that would have your club fall behind. So you have to lead your club and impress upon them that they have to meet their obligations on time. And if they don't, you have to make a decision as a leader. So that type of responsibility will have to be shared with them. And that's something that I have tried to impart in small bits, not to frighten them, but that's part of the elevation, the responsibility.
Absolutely. And Alicia, over to you for your closing remarks in terms of the relationship with your Rotaract club. Just, how do you see it in terms of those positive examples you can share?
I think Carson really hit the nail on the head when he said, really allowing the Rotaractors to have a seat at the table, essentially, really treating them as though they're adults, as opposed to, hey, we have this service project, we need bodies to push chairs around. It's more so, let's get them a seat at the table. And our Rotary Club actually has a board specific seat where the president of the Rotaract Club sits on the board for the Rotary Club. So they can bring in, their ideas. What is it that they need? How can we be of assistance? And I think really just truly listening to the Rotaract Club and what their needs are, because I think it's easy to just assume like, oh, well, this club wants mentorship, this club wants service, this club wants that. Every club is different. Everybody has different needs. So really truly listening to what it is that they're specifically asking for. For example, our club, did a project where they are partnering with this a hospital, or sorry, a Rotaract club in Brazil, where they're painting and renovating, a children's wing of the hospital, and they were in need of some funds. So walking them through like, hey, maybe we can look at district funds, district money, district grants, that sort of thing, seeing what's available fund-wise of how we can kind of grow and help, this particular service project that they're working on. So just listening, I think, is a really big tool that I think a lot of Rotary clubs need to do as far as how their Rotaract clubs need to be supported.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Guys, we can't thank you enough in terms of all the nuggets that you've left us with. And certainly it's always great to see it in practice, actually see all the best advice, and all these things actually being done, and also seeing the rewards that you get out of it. We know it's not easy, and it's certainly a work in progress, but I think, especially using Carson's club, that if it is the intention of your Rotary club to certainly see your Rotaract club as your equal, right? And even if there's a great age difference, then it wouldn't matter, because you try to establish all the things that you can in order for you guys to have that great relationship. And then in the case of Alicia, you know what, Rotaractors already know. So, it's a great transition and a great opportunity also for Rotaractors to come into a Rotary Club by starting their own Rotary clubs, and of course encouraging Rotaractors to continue on in that leadership. So thank you to both of you, President Carson, DRC, Alicia. We really, really appreciate it. So at this point, I know we kind of did a Q&A before, but we certainly are open. We have Alicia, we have Carson, as well as we have several other persons, Mike, all the Mikes, Audley here as well, in terms of if you guys have any other questions that you would like to get answered. And from there, we'd actually wrap up the call. So over to you all, if you have any questions.
I've got a question.
Yeah, Mike.
First of all, I want to thank everybody on this call. This information tonight has been very, very, very informative, and hopefully it can result in getting all these clubs updated to Rotary and establish some type of a better relationship with the Rotary clubs. I noticed one thing that we had to do in District 6970. We use DACDB as our vendor for data. And good or bad, but it works. It works fine. We had to go in and delete, well, put it this way, change the reporting relationship of the Rotaract clubs so they're no longer a child of the parent Rotary club. Otherwise, nothing would feed up into myrotary.org. And is anybody else in here on this call use DACDB? We're the only one.
I
do.
Okay.
We do also in 6990.
Yes,
and yes, we had to do the same thing.
Yeah, and the other thing is that one of my Rotaractors last night, I should call them, I'm gonna call them younger Rotarians. He sent me some updated instructions on how to get the DACDB to be turned on, so you get a communication between DACDB and myrotary.org. It's different from what was originally sent out. And what I will do, Giselle, since you have the list of all these people here, maybe you could record who is using DACDB. I'll send the instructions to you, and if you could pass it out to everybody, that it would be useful. That would be wonderful.
Absolutely, Mike, because that's what we want, right? We want whatever is working. We want to get it out to everybody, because it's sort of like we're all figuring this thing out as we go along. You know, we have guidance, yes, but you still need to break it down per district. Mike, if you're okay, I see Heather has a question.
Well, I was just going to say that I think, and Donald might agree with me, that's the exact issue that we're having right now, is trying to get our Rotaract members into DACDB and moving it to Rotary Club Central. So if
However,
you would send that information, that would be awesome. Yeah.
It doesn't
I'll
integrate.
figure it out.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
It doesn't integrate like the rest of our clubs. It doesn't work.
So Mike, however you figured it out, we need that information.
I didn't figure it out. One of my Rotaract members, who's the president of his club, happens to work for a large Fortune 500 company, and he works in data. So he's a manager in data. Mike Dara probably knows the company I'm talking about. But anyway, he works in data, and he knows this stuff intimately. And so he started digging some things down backwards, you might say, and said, wait a minute, something's not working. And I think I found it. So he got in touch with our DACDB support group here in the district. There's only one guy. But anyway, his name is Jim, and sent the inquiry to Jim, and they both sent up to Rotary.org. And Rotary.org, I guess, got to DACDB. But anyway, that's how he figured out exactly what to do, because before it wasn't working. Once they had this in, bingo, it all worked.
Oh, wow.
But does that information feed up to my Rotary?
Yes.
It does
Yes,
for him,
it
but
does.
it's not working
And
for the rest of us.
yeah, and my Rotary will feed it back to DACDB. So it's a two-way street. And
Yeah, then you can compare the two to make sure you have them correct.
Yeah,
we need to know that secret sauce, whatever it is.
Because it's not working for the rest of us.
Yeah, it does feed. It does feed, and what we even did on there. They have what they call a DACDB or Rotary compare.
Yeah.
And you run that list, and you hit compare, and it'll come up and flag them in red if it doesn't match one side or the other. So then you have to figure out what to do.
I just love how Mike is an expert now on DACDB, and I'm listening to Mike, and I'm like, we need to get Mike on a call talking about this.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting in terms of the knowledge that you can actually have. Our other Mike, Mike Dara, he just asked if you could share your contact information in the chat, certainly, especially if you want to get that DACDB. I know for many of you, the DRRs, the DRCs, we do have your contact already, but certainly anyone else who is on the call and would like to get that information, we'd certainly like to get your your contacts, okay? Mike, I think you,
if
yes,
they're on-
yeah.
Yeah, if they're on right now, we'd like to get that just so that we can also send you, I've been working on this list. And for example, Daniel, I'm not seeing the updates. So I want to make certain to get the current list that I've got. Because I don't doubt that you've done the updates, but we'll at least get a dialogue going so we understand how long does it take to show those updates, things like that.
Mike,
Yeah.
I also sent updates and I just now checked on another computer here in my office and they're not done yet either. I also made myself district Rotaract chair so that maybe I can get a little information here and know what's going on because the governor's not getting it and I'm not getting it.
So Evie, did you do that through the data@rotary.org?
Yes.
Okay, so that's
I
that's
know,
gonna be-
I know DACDB is not working for us. So yes, that's the one thing I could edit, but I can't edit anything else. I can't even edit my own club. I'm an advisor of a club. I can't edit my own club.
that got taken away.
That was taken away in August.
In
Mhm.
August, and that was part of the Elevate Rotaract, but we gave feedback that perhaps it would have been nice to get everything done first, but it's already done, all the programming's in. Undoing it would create more of a potential morass. So I think the idea of the DACDB right now is the best approach. I do know that DACDBs, the owners and programmers have put that capability in and have been getting after it in the last, what, oddly, 3 months, 4 months, maybe. So
Correct. Yeah, the option to speak from DACDB directly to RI for Rotaract is available, but there is an option that has to be turned on in DACDB and a document that has to send from DACDB from the clubs to RI. So Mike will definitely share, which is Mike Sealer, will share that with the team and Giselle, and then we'll share that with everyone here. So there is a
Giselle, I just sent it to you.
right.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mike.
Two things just need to be turned on, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, there is a form on RI to give permission for the two to integrate back and forth. I found the form and when I clicked on it, I couldn't open it. It wouldn't let me open it. I don't know what I need. I'm district administrator, I'm a club advisor, and now I'm district Rotaract chair. And I can't do a thing on RI.
well, Evie, that's
I got a thought for you. I got a email from a lady, I guess it's a lady, maybe a guy, Sonia Romo.
Yeah.
And Sonia is in headquarters up at data@rotary.org. I'll grab this email and I will send it to Giselle as well.
Well,
And this
she's
person
on
might-
vacation for 10 days.
She's on vacation?
Well, yeah, the email bounced back. I sent it to her last week because I believe maybe on Mike's email to the governor, she was copied and my governor sent me Mike's email. So I copied everybody back trying to get some help and she was on there.
If I can jump in real quick, Mike
definitely.
Taylor and Evie, anyone that's having a challenge specifically on their access and sign on, please send me an email. I would love to check on that on the back end for you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put my email address in the chat again. Please send me an email directly. So Evie, I'm not so sure exactly what's happening. I would love to look on your specific sign on the back end. So again, I'll put it in the chat. Send me an email. I'd love to look through it.
I did. I already did.
Yeah, thanks,
That'd
Evie.
be great. Okay, guys, so just at this point, we are a little bit almost over time. We are on for an hour. So what I would like to do is bring the meeting to a close, but in terms of the recording, but certainly if we have any more questions, we're more than welcome to stay on, okay? So at this time, I just hand you over to Kareem, who's from now from 7 to 20, and also sits
Yes.
on our committee and chairs our service project. So Kareem, over to you.
All right, thank you, ARC Giselle. And this concludes another exciting session brought to you by the Rotaract Zone 34 Committee. I want to thank all the members of the committee for coming out today and putting on the session. I'd also like to thank our presenters this evening, President Karsten, from the Rotary Club of Kingston, and you know our resident presenter Lisa. We always call her for everything. We know we have our man Belenzo who did an amazing icebreaker, so thank you for that as well. And everyone in the chat who were giving support throughout the evening. Before we end today's meeting, I just want to let you know that our next meeting, it won't be just us, it'll be joined with the Ascension MDIO. And for those of you who don't know what the MDIO is a multi-district information organization. And the goal for this meeting is really just to go through, you know, just the same questions we've been spanning all these 3 meetings. Are we ready for what's going to happen in January? So please come out and answer any questions that you might have as relates to the my Rotary updates, as well as if your club is ready for January. The next thing I want to bring to your attention is that we have a competition going on, a photo competition. Last month was Basic Literacy and Education Month, and many clubs submitted applications for the photo competition. I ask that you go to our pages right now, and even though your club did not submit something, please like the post. I think right now we have 2 clubs from 7 to 20 in the lead, Kingston and Grand, I think, Turks. So please like our page. I'm going to ask someone to drop the links in the chat for those 2 pages, the Instagram and Facebook pages. And I think that was it for our announcements. Did I miss anything? I don't think so. But with that, thank you again, and look out for an email for our next meeting. And I call this meeting to end.